and welcome to my kitchen.
The opportunity to meet Katie Wolfson. She works in the collections department at the Museum of Natural History at the University of Colorado Boulder. Her department studies the effects of humans and the environment on bees.
Our collection is really interested in learning about these native solitary bees, and we do that through citizen science, where we team up with the public to learn about them, and then we also do it through researchers. And so we have a research team that's been doing a big project funded through USDA actually to see how crops are affecting native bees, and having lots of corn out on the plains in northeast Colorado. And so they basically went out for 2 summers and collected tons of bees throughout the summer, and brought them back here to our collection.
Really cool.
So we can study them there. So because there's so many species of bees, that's one reason we need to actually collect them. It's not that we really like having to bring them into the collection and euthanize them, but there's so many, and there's such a tiny difference between them that we have to look at them under microscopes. And luckily, since they're insects, there's enough of them out there that it doesn't seem to impact the population outside at all. So we've had researchers bring in closer to like 40,000 bees over the last 2 summers that they've collected stuff out on the plains, and they actually caught more the second summer than they did the first summer. So it doesn't seem to negatively affect the bees out there, but it's super valuable because it lets us know what types of bees are out there and what types of pollinators are out there, and if growing lots of crops that are good for people are good or bad for bees, and if it's really affecting them. Because we need the native bees in order to have the native plants here.
After speaking with Katie, I met up with 2 researchers at the University of Colorado. They put us in beekeeping suits and took us out into the field to learn more about honeybees.
My name is Chelsea Cook. I am a 5th year PhD student at the University of Colorado working on the social behavior of honeybees and how they cool their colony down by fanning.
I'm Rachel Casper, and I'm a 5th year senior student at undergraduate at University of Colorado, and I study how honeybees regulate the temperature of their hive, and I'm testing to see how social influence affects that.
I study directly the impact of big farming or pesticides on honeybees. I study the society level. I study what's going on, because even if we do say something with pesticides is bothering them, we won't actually know what's happening unless we know what's going on as a baseline in the society first.
You can't see a change.
Exactly. Exactly. So yeah, so although, and I study a behavior too where bees are working to cool their colony off, and so we're also facing climate change, right? So whether we have drastic, like hotter temperatures, or whether we have more drastic changes in our environment and our temperatures, we need to know how the society as a whole is going to respond to that. If they get doused in pesticides, how does the society respond to that? Even just understanding how this society functions helps us understand how our own society functions and like what roles we play. We actually got really lucky, and on campus there was a tree that had a honeybee hive in it. And so if you guys want to step on up here, this is a feral hive. So this is a hive of honeybees that were probably kept in the boxes like the hives that we'll see in a second, and they swarm. So honeybee colonies are kind of like the superorganism where their reproduction actually happens on the colony level. So they want to actually leave, they split off the entire colony. They'll make a new queen, the new queen will stay, the old queen will leave with the swarm and try to make a new colony. So these ladies, and all worker bees are female. So, which is pretty cool. So this, if you want to just like get up in there and take a look, there's a little hole in there, and all the bees are coming in and out. So there's a hive, and we're gonna do some thermal imaging of this log to see where the hive actually is. So we don't know how big the hive inside this cavity, this tree cavity is.
I can imagine how big it could be.
It could be huge, right? It could be absolutely enormous. So, and you can see, so I study this behavior called fanning behavior, which is pretty cool, where they stand at the opening of the hive and fan their wings, and this helps circulate air and circulate the gas out of the colony, the like more CO2, try to get oxygen and cooler air into it. So yeah, so this is what in nature, this is like, so honeybees are native to Europe, so they're not native to the US, so we brought them over for farming and honey pollination purposes. So this is what honeybees look like in the wild.
So are honeybees the only bees that make honey?
That's a great question. They're the only bees that make honey in this quantity because mostly probably because of human selection to select for them making all this honey. So the reason why they make honey is because they overwinter, and so they're storing up food stores for the winter time so they can actually have something to eat. So we've selected for them to be able to collect lots and lots of honey, so we can take a little bit extra from them. Bumblebees actually make honey too, so they will make little combs, they look more like barrels, like little kind of like globe-shaped barrels where they'll actually store nectar. They'll go do the same thing, they'll suck up nectar from flowers, come back and store that, but they don't make it in the same quantity. They're just making enough for them to live throughout the summer, and they don't actually overwinter, so they're not really concerned about storing a ton. Usually the foragers are specialized and they will stick to just nectar or stick to just pollen, so very rarely do you see bees coming back with both nectar and pollen.
Yeah.
So this is what we call a brood frame, and so this is a brood frame, and these cells right here are capped larvae or pupae, and so you can
some babies in there.
Yep. So there's actually a bee right here who's emerging from her cell. See her? So she's actually trying to come out of the cell. So bees go through complete metamorphosis just like butterflies, caterpillars to butterflies. So they start out just that the larvae are little maggots, literally just like they look really gross, like the little fly maggots that you see. And so there's just these larvae, that stage where they get capped. And what they're doing there is they spend about a week spinning a cocoon and going through metamorphosis, so going from that larvae, where they're kind of like the worm-like stage, to an adult honeybee. They feed them mostly nectar, so if they're just worker bees, they get fed nectar and a little bit of pollen, and the workers will actually knead it into something that beekeepers call bee bread, and so they'll actually knead the pollen and nectar into a little ball and feed the larvae that, and so the larvae eat mostly nectar, so their diets are really high in sugar and carbohydrates.
This is really cool. I mean, these bees don't really seem to mind me holding them.
No. Yeah, you're doing great too. This frame is more of a honeycomb frame, and you can tell that because it's all open right now except for this little area up here. So a lot of these a lot of these little cells, this honeycomb, is starting to get filled in and starting to get to that perfect consistency where they're ready to cap it and store it. And so this is capped honey up here. And so, yep, and so this is like essentially their canning process, right? So they let all the water, as much water as they can, evaporate from it, and they say, this is good, we're ready to cap that. So they store it and they put it away for the winter. All right, I am going to get you some of this capped honey right here. I promise this petri dish is sterile, but I can't promise anything about the hive tool, so you'll have to trust me on the hive tool.
Oh my gosh, wow. Just like that.
Wow.
Having like curiosity and like just pursuing understanding what's going on and watching even the littlest of organisms or plants that really don't seem to be doing anything. Just being curious, watching things, and always trying to understand what's going on in the world around you.
Today I'm going to show you how to make sweet and sour chicken. Did you know that it's easy to substitute honey for sugar in most recipes, even baking? So basically, for every 1 cup of sugar, you can use 1/4 of a cup of honey. Now let's get started making our recipe. You're going to start by preheating your oven to 400 degrees. Then, spray a covered cookie sheet. Next, we're going to cook our chicken in the microwave for 3 to 4 minutes. Now we're going to make our sauce. So we're going to start with 1/2 cup of pineapple juice. Half a cup of apple cider vinegar, ketchup, soy sauce, minced garlic, and honey, and some cornstarch to thicken it up. And we are going to simmer it on low heat. While that thickens up, we're going to cook our vegetables. So we're going to sweat all of our vegetables in a pan with olive oil on medium heat. Here we have our red peppers, green peppers, carrots, onions, and kale. We're going to cover that with the lid and sweat it for 8 minutes. While our sauce thickens and our vegetables sweat, we are going to coat our chicken. So we're going to take our chicken pieces and roll it around in a milk and egg mixture. Then in panko breadcrumbs. Finish this process for the rest of your chicken. As a vegetarian option, you can also use tofu. Now we're going to cook our chicken in the oven for 8 minutes. Then we're going to cook our rice. We'll take the lid off of our vegetables and put in 2 cups of water and 2 cups of instant rice. Mix it up. Put on the lid and take it off the burner. Our chicken is done and out of the oven. We are now going to add it to our thickened sauce. Add our pineapple up. And it's done. Now let's go over to our rice. We'll take off the lid, stir it up, and serve it up. We can roll on our pineapple and chicken and sauce. And there we have it. This is our delicious sweet and sour chicken made with honey. I like to garnish it with some sesame seeds and green onion. Making a delicious meal. Bon appetit! I hope you enjoyed our latest video. If you want the full sweet and sour chicken recipe, want to learn more about honey, or anything else about healthy living, click the link below, check out my family's blog where I posted all about it. And remember, keep it fresh, keep it healthy, keep it real.
You can see it's like kind of,
So we're going to take our chicken pieces. I don't even know what this is. I had the opportunity to meet Katie Wolfson. She works in the collections department.